Hello and welcome to another Six Sages Gaming set review. Today we're going to be talking about fire, but before we heat things up, I want to take a moment to talk about the FFTCG Mugnet.com. As you guys know, it's a wonderful database that we've put a lot of love and work into, and Elaine has been great at putting up 99.9% of the stuff that's up on there. But if you're looking for all the Opus II spoilers and you want a searchable database, then absolutely this is going to be your place to be. If you want to search for Kane, you can just type Kane in and it'll pull up all the cards named Kane, as well as the cards that reference Kane. You can do this for Dragoon, you can do it for all the different jobs, you can search by just elements. Maybe you want to find that perfect 2-cost fire summon for your deck. You can look all that up on there. So if you have the time, check it out. It is an amazing, amazing resource. But what I know you guys want to talk about today is some amazing Opus II cards. Now, we are so excited for this next set, and we waited because we really wanted to have the English-based cards. Gustav was very kind enough to put together a text list, but it was fans translated, and there was a few errors that were found over the development of the list. But he has a wonderful site as well, the Mako Reactor site, and he has a wonderful FAQ. Again, much love for that guy and everything that he's been putting together, so if you can, check out his site as well. But enough of that, let's turn up the heat and get right into these amazing spoilers. So up first, we have Irvine, a 3-cost backup, deals 6,000 when it comes into play. I gotta say, I do like this card. Now, the big push with Opus II is having these mono element based decks because we have a deeper card pool, not necessarily because that there are cards that say, hey, play this and just only run one element, with the exception of one legendary we're going to be talking about soon. But they're just having a deeper card pool opens up these options. And Irvine is great because we get to potentially kill one of our opponent's forwards and play a backup that's then going to continue to generate resources for us for the rest of the turn. Downside, it is a named character, so you could run 3 if you really want to, but drawing the second and the third one don't do anything for you other than being able to be discarded. So, great card. I'm sure it's going to find a home. It might not be in every fire deck going forward, but I think it's one to pay attention to. Up next, we have Ifrit, which is great because it's an EX burst. It's a 2-drop, deals 6,000 damage or something. Unfortunately, it does fall a little short of what we'd like to see. We do have Brynhildr, which will of course be the staple as a 3 EX burst that deals 7k. And we do have Bahamut Fury, which by itself only deals 5,000 damage, but the extra 1,000 damage if you discard a card is not to be overlooked. I think that alone is going to make it more playable than this Ifrit card. That said, down the road, if we get more things that increase the summons that your Ifrit, or increase the damage that your Ifrit summons would do, or something like that, this is where you'd want to keep an eye on that. So who knows what's to come, but for right now, I think this card's going to be sitting on the sidelines. Ward is a 3-drop 5k that when he attacks gets 8k power until end of turn. So a card that is undervalued or underpowered for its cost, however, it does get huge. Now that is great on the more aggressive decks, but then keeping in mind it's going to be severely handicapped while trying to play defense, and it's going to lose the power race to a lot of 2-drops even, and most, if not all 3-drops if I am correct. So it's a card that, as long as you're ahead and you can keep attacking and applying pressure, great. The second you fall behind, a little bit lackluster. The thing to note that it is a Final Fantasy VIII character, so we can play this Fire Ice deck based around Rinoa, but that is for another video, but just keep that in mind. Inferial Phantom, of course, this is Jet, and they brought us the Mannequins, which is from Dissidia. They were the guys that you would go against in the arcade version that mirror, famous characters. And I do have to say, I love the Mannequin tribe that's being put into this because you can run a mostly Opus II Mannequin X-Death deck. However, you will need Golbez from Opus I. So with that understanding, we can build a mostly Opus II deck, get a couple cards from Opus I, and have a deck ready to go. And I want to stress the importance of that because Opus I can still be a little difficult to get a hold of. Hopefully with Wave 3 around the corner, that won't be the issue, but in the meantime, I think that will be a good starting place for a lot of people. So if your opponent controls 2 or more forwards, it becomes a 2-drop 7k, which is great. If you have X Death, it becomes a 2-drop 8k. And because it has that common soldier icon or the multi-card symbol in the top right corner, you could play 3 of these and have them all in field at the same time. And just the idea of a 2-drop 8K potentially is great. And it would be amazing to see that happen. Now, talking about the absolute best common for fire in this set is Sage. Now, again, we do these very early on. I would call these more first impression videos, so of course we might be wrong on a few of these. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But at the end, we did include our favorite card from each rarity, and I'll just give the spoiler now. This absolutely takes the common spot. I'll let you guys see the other 3 at the end. But Sage is absurd. So the only possible downside to this card is that it's not a good turn 1 by itself. Yeah, that's a given, and that's a bummer, but giving something haste and having a 2-drop backup that then produces crystal points for you for the remainder of the turn or for the remainder of the game is insane. Absolutely insane. Even just giving something like Golbez haste or any kind of 9K that's immediately going to be able to pressure your opponent and force them to lose a blocker potentially is great. So Sage is a wonderful enabler. And if you want to live the dream, you could give Tidus haste and give Zemus to make him unblockable. Yes, that is a lot of work and a lot of setup, but it is potentially an OTK out of nowhere. Now, of course, they hit an EX burst like Odin or Leviathan or something to stop it. That does feel pretty bad because by then you're committed to a fire water and you can't really protect it. Protect it and not lose tempo out of it. That does leave a few questions, but ultimately I think it's something that's worth trying. And again, this card will absolutely be seeing play. Now, a card that I am just it hurts to look at because they could have used any other art, screenshot, whatever you want to call it. Saz looks constipated. Let's just get that out of the way. But for a 2-drop 3K, he's certainly underpowered. But when he gets to attack, he gets to choose one of your opponent's forward and deal 1,000 damage for each point of damage you have received. Now, again, if you were playing the Earth, Fire, Furiosa, I believe is how you pronounce it, self-hate ping deck, cool, great. Potentially he's dealing 6K to something, which would be fantastic. So maybe you just run this as a one-of in your fire decks because if you see it mid to late game and it's dealing 4,000 to 5,000 damage, and if your opponent tries to block it, you can potentially trade it with a 7 or 8K. That's probably fine. But seeing this any point in the early game is going to be very frustrating and automatically discard fodder. So it'll find a home in the right deck. Not every deck, but I'd be interesting to see if someone can make that Fire Earth self-pain kind of deck work. Now, the card that I am very excited about, if you could tell by the thumbnail, and yes, we picked Tifa because I do feel in the deck that both of these are best in. Tifa is going to do a better job at what it wants to do. Of course, you can do some cheeky things with Emperor and still remove the things that you need to, but we'll talk about Tifa in a minute. So Emperor Zandi, I believe is how you pronounce his name, from Final Fantasy XIV. Huge raid boss, which is super cool, but a wall of text. So 5-drop 9K, that's fine. Can only use fire crystal points to play him onto the field. Slight drawback. However, if you remember, even in 2-color decks, that's not that hard to do. So sure, most of the time you're going to be discarding 2 cards to play this guy, but understanding that he's a 9K, so you're going to attack them. They have to block with something. Let's say they block with a 9K. They're going to lose that card, and they're going to lose another card in the process. So he more than is. This card is absolutely fine to pitch 2 cards and be able to play him. Whenever he attacks, he gets to deal 5,000 damage to something. That's perfectly fine. And when he goes into the break zone, he deals 9,000. So again, this is a guy that I'm really trying not to say just automatically jam 3 in a lot of decks, but it's a really mean card for your opponent to try to have to deal with. And even on defense, it's absurd because it's a 9K body that they're already going to have trouble dealing with. You're probably playing the fire backup to make him a 10K, and then it says, well, sorry to say this, but if you find a way to kill him, I'm going to kill something else that you put a high value on. So you're going to lose your best guy in the process, even when trying to take him down. So this card is automatically, get your copies of him. Absolutely make sure to put this into some decks, because even playing on this on turn 2 in a lot of cases is going to be perfectly fine. So I'm looking forward to see all the different awesome decks that people brew with this card. Obviously Mono Fire being the #1 spot, but I very strongly believe that you can put this in any, if not all, dual element decks based on your card ratios and all that stuff. So going into the more unblockable plan, we have Zell, 3-drop 6k. When he attacks, choose a forward, cost 3 or less. It cannot block. So I know a lot of people are already excited for this archetype, but Wind, Fire, unblockable. You know, Yuffie, Zell, Zidane. You have the new Tifa, which we'll talk about here very shortly. There's a lot of ways to make sure that your stuff just gets through. And then you have backups like Red Mage and Zemus and all these other wonderful things that combo with them. So if you want to be playing a deck that is all out offensive and does not, stop for anything, that is probably the deck that you want to make. Now, some of those matchups are still going to be a little bit rough for you. You have to make sure that you have the Red Mage very early on, so absolutely make sure to run 3. But then when you do, you can punish your opponent for only leaving up 1 blocker. So I think it's going to be a great deck, and I think that this is finally the 3-drop that those decks wanted out, other than Yuffie. So absolutely, it hurts to play 3 because it doesn't have a special, but I could absolutely see this card as a 2 of in those more unblockable decks. Selfie's here as a backup. Choose one attacking forward. It gets plus 2,000 power until end of turn. Interesting note is that it doesn't break itself like Monk in Opus 1 does. However, it's only an attacking forward, so this is a little bit of a give and a take. And it is a named character, so you can only have 1. Again, drawing multiples of this feels pretty bad. That said, in Mono Fire and in a lot of decks, honestly, just using Fire already, having this as a 2k is going to be, or that 2k bonus that this card generates is going to be great, because again, keeping in mind you don't have to play something at the start of your turn. That is a big mistake that I kept seeing from the tournament over this past weekend, and with this card as a backup, you're just going to say, okay, draw me 2 cards, attack, without even thinking about it. Don't give any hesitation. If this is on the field, just turn your guys sideways, unless it's some blatantly bad play where they have a guy that you just can't possibly overcome with. Sometimes your opponent will just forget that you have this on the field, and you'll be able to trade up for free. So that is always something to keep into consideration. So as a rare, I absolutely love this card, and I think it will absolutely see play in some decks as well. Again, if you're playing Mono Fire, then you obviously want to auto-include some number of this card. Warrior is here as a standard unit, so of course, Warrior of Light-based decks, automatic give there. But speaking more to the Mono Fire element decks, it has fire breathing. So for those that are unfamiliar, it's a term that comes from Magic, saying you pay 1, you gain a power. So in this case, pay 1 fire, gain 1,000 power. So in those decks where you are playing a Mono Fire backup, if you have 5, you can boost this to a 10k. And again, much like Furion in the first set, it creates a situation where your opponent says, all right, if I block this, my opponent could just, if they have 5 resources untapped, they could just dump it all in and make him survive the turn and kill my best guy on the board. And for being a standard unit, which can then also get plus 2k and first strike, not bad. Not bad at all. And it's cards like this that make me lean towards a more standard unit Golbez based deck. So your Warrior of Light is a plan B. And someone over the weekend had an amazing list with that. And it only gets better with this next set. So absolutely just keep that deck together and keep piloting it. And the 2-drop Warrior here, unless you're very heavy on the Tifa plan, you want to get an extra point of damage, I think Warrior here will ultimately be the right choice for those decks. Just a 2-drop, potentially 7k first strike with fire breathing. Yeah, sign me up. Absolutely. So as I had mentioned, we have Tifa, who is just absurd at what she does in the decks that she wants to be good in. So the giveaway for this deck is obviously, or for this card, is the Fire and Wind deck. Unblockable stuff, we don't really need to spend a lot of time discussing that. The thing that we also might take for granted is also Fire Ice. It's another 9k, so our opponent has trouble dealing with that. But in combination with Snow, we can make 1 forward block, dull the next, and then suddenly just swing out with our team. And you can very easily set up these turns, which I have done multiple times, where you're getting in 3-4 points of damage. So you get into the early points of damage, set up a board state, crack them for the last points, 3-4 points in a single turn. Of course, there's always going to be the option where they have an EX burst. That is what it is. But if you can deal 4 points of damage to your opponent in a single turn, and they're either tapped out or don't have a lot of resources to get back or to stabilize the board at that point, you're probably just going to win. And Tifa allows you to just win because of her effect, and then also because of Falcon's Dive. All forwards cost 3 or less cannot block this turn. So you can set it where, okay, you have a 4-drop and some 3-drops. I'm going to use her special. I'm going to use her effect to nullify your 4. So you might have 3 guys on the board, but none of them can block, and then you're just swinging through for victory. So Tifa, I definitely expect, and of course it has that it's a popular character aspect going for it, so I'm sure people will want it just for that, including the foil versions. But this is a card that is absolutely going to see play, and I would expect this card to see even more play as we go down the road and have more Tifas come out, because again, in the decks that this wants to be in, it's absolutely amazing at what it does. A card that I'm excited for that not a lot of people seem to be talking about, at least right now, so if I missed it, I apologize. It could be wrong, or I could be totally off base. Who knows? But I personally like playing the more control-based decks, or playing ones that have this longer game plan. So if we were to think about the Earth, Fire, Cloud control deck, this is like a perfect card for that deck. And what I like is that it does break itself. So you could comfortably run 3 of these in a deck. Of course, you'd have to play it early and use one of them early. That's something to take into consideration. But it deals 9,000 damage. That is going to kill, 99 out of 100 things that your opponent has. Sure, they might have a reaction to it like Golem or what have you, but that's just something that you accept while playing this game. Tello is a 4-drop that we can just play early if we're really in a pinch. He's going to produce some crystal points for us, and then he's going to kill something on the way out. So, yes, it's a named character, but I absolutely feel that his backup breaking effect, obviously breaking himself in this case, to deal 9,000 damage something is worth playing. So I am very excited to just jam this card. As you guys know, I'm going to be starting with a Fire Water list. And absolutely this card is going into that backup lineup. Because again, Fire has obviously some good cards. Water doesn't have a lot of good way to permanently remove things. And Tele comes in where those decks, element combinations might have a little bit of a shortcoming. Ninja as a standard unit. Again, so 2-drop 4K. Whenever it's blocked, it deals 2,000 damage to the 4 that's blocking it. So Minwu aside, so keep that as as I'm saying this, but this is potentially a 2-drop 6K, which is a standard unit, which can only get better. Now that said, if we're playing the standard unit plan and we're already on this assumption that it's going to get first strike anyways, I do like Warrior. However, this would work with Edge, which we'll talk about in the win set review, that all your ninjas get plus 1,000. Again, they get first strike as well, so that's kind of redundant here, unfortunately. But there is this ninja themed deck that you could build, and you could do either Wind Fire or Wind Lightning. Now, which one's right? I have to see all the cards, line them up. Certainly, you have to use Wind because of Edge and Yuffie and all the other ninjas we got, but it is to be determined about which one of those two is better. Will this see play? Not sure. Depends on which ninja deck is better, but if people do lean towards the Wind Fire brew, I could absolutely see this ninja seeing play. Oh yeah, this is a card that I am very, very excited about. As you guys know, I had just mentioned I love Fire Water, that it's finally going to be a deck, and we're going to hopefully do something with it. Now, I know at kind of face value, this card does lack a little bit. It's only a 3-drop 7K, which, to be fair, is on par in terms of power level. If we're using the backup, it's a 3-drop 8K. But what I love is if we have Ash, which 100% we were playing that card as well. That card is just amazing. I love it. Absolutely love that card. Look forward to it in the water review. But Flame Purge, it is expensive, I admit, but it is on a forward, and it does give us the opportunity to have a cheaper costed Bahamut. Heavy emphasis there because it technically costs 7 plus whatever we invested to put this card into the field, what have you. Choose up to 2 forwards, deal them 9,000 damage. So not only is this going to be in, the games that you want to be playing it's a 3-drop 9K, not bad. It also can late game usability where just play 3 of these, just do it. Trust me, play 3 of this card, you won't regret it. You can play Flame Purge now. The only possible thing that I could complain about the special, and considering this is only a hero card, keep that in mind, is it doesn't remove them when they die. So if they have a Golbez, they're still going to get the Golbez effect. They're still going to get the Emperor effect, what have you. But again, keeping in mind that we had mentioned that there is going to be this push for, on Facebook, we've talked about this a lot, the Dark Emperor is going to be something people have to be conscious of, and you can get away with that because of this card as it gets buffed. Now, yes, it will shut off Flame Purge, which is annoying, but then you still have a 9K that they have to answer, and their Emperor is only an 8. So, yeah, it's a nice 8K vanilla that they're playing. Of course, it's going to be good, don't get me wrong, but I think that my approach to it will just be play like the Ice Earth discard deck with Capal, play all Enter the Effect abilities. It shuts off Devout, unfortunately, but that's something that we can easily get around as well. And I think it won't be as impactful as people want. But Bosch absolutely, or Ash-alutely, bad pun, is going to see play in this Fire Water deck, and I cannot wait to finally get my hands on Opus II cards and put that together. So if you have a Fire Water deck, please post it in the comments below. I'm going to put together a list and see what other people are doing, and we might feature your list on the channel if I like your list better than mine, or if I bring it up to the other 6 sages and they say that they really like it, we will preview your list on the channel and give you credit. So there you go, little bonus material for hanging around watching this entire set review, and also give you a chance to get your deck spotlighted on the channel. Not too bad. Speaking of the other half of Water Fire that I absolutely love is Palom, and we will talk about Porum in the other video. Again, they go together. I keep referring to them as the Wonder Twins, brother and sister, what have you, but Comet is insane, and I'm not sure a lot of people have fully realized just how insane it is. Keeping in mind that, yes, it is a forward. Yes, it's only a 6K instead of a 7K. Yes, you must also have Porum on the field. So, again, I get it. Let's back up. It takes a lot of work. I completely understand that aspect of it. But being able to just doll both of them, obviously. So you doll him as part of the cost, and you doll a Porum as well. Deal your opponent 1 point of damage. That is so good. There's a number of times where I've played games where it'd be the mirror, control-ish type of mirror match, and the board state's just locked. And especially if you have Minwu, hint, we're also playing Minwu, you can just wall off your opponent with a 9K for a couple turns in some cases. And this card is what gives us that last bit of reach. You can get your opponent to 6 points of damage, just wait to get Porum, and then go, sorry, you're dead. And then don't forget, on the other hand of this, Porum, I believe, does 8,000 damage with her special, if I remember correctly. So both halves of these cards are great for what their specials do. Again, downside is they're forwards. I really, really wish they were backups. Yes, I realize that would have been way too good if they were backups, but a guy can dream. So I don't think ultimately that they're going to make the final cut for the Fire Water list. However, it's going to be fun as hell, and I am looking forward to killing someone with Comet, and I bet you I will get to do it on video too. So I am looking forward to that a lot. Of course, we have the 1-drop version, which really helps you find the other one, and again, you want to be playing multiples, so you can use multiple specials in a turn, so you're probably stuck playing this card, and I think this is why a lot of people are turned off by it. So when he deals damage to your opponent, or when the forward damage by him is put in the field to the break zone. So yeah, there are some other tricky things you can do, but ultimately as a 1-drop 1K, the best thing you're doing is using Zemus, and hopefully it hits. Yay! You get to search for the other Palom. As we just saw, it deals 7,000 damage or something. So you at least get to kill something, on the way of the new one coming in. So from a design aspect and from kind of like what they were going for, I really like it. I think it's a really cute interaction. Yes, I realize the keyword there is probably cute, but again, I will absolutely be playing it. I am looking forward to it, and I think that some crazy deck builder out there will be able to make it work. So now we're seeing the judges from Final Fantasy 12, and I have to say, I just love all of their artwork for all the different elements they have. So 4-drop 8K, deal all the 4 opponent controls 1,000 damage for fire and 1. A bit expensive, a nice effect that you can dump points into, but when he is chosen by a summon, put him into the break zone. So I'm not quite sure why they gave us a fair cost at 8K and also of a, hey, if I poke him, he dies with a summon type of ability on him, especially because I don't think that the deal 1,000 damage to all your opponent's forwards is that great. But we could see. Maybe the game goes in a direction where, so 4 cards, so 8. So 4,000 damage at most, so up to 5 if you discard your entire hand. If you have all mono fire, can be good against some Golbez deck situations, but I think the drawback was too much for this card, and it's also a named character, so you don't want to have multiple of these show up, otherwise just discarding from crystal points. So this card does leave a little bit to be desired. If I am missing a combo with this, with some other card in the deck, because I'm doing these by element, let me know, but ultimately I think this card's not going to be seeing a lot of play in the next set. Summoner 2-drop, put it in the break zone. If a 4 receives damage this turn, this damage is increased by 1,000 instead. So it gets around Minwu, which is cute because the damage modifier is added and then it's checked against Minwu, much as is Warrior of Light, the 2-drop from Opus 1. Pretty underwhelming. We're already competing with things like Red Mage, and we've discussed the new Sage, which gives us the haste. There's a lot of good 2-drops already that we want to be playing, so I think this might be relevant in some future. I just can't see this card seeing play right out of the gate, so not much needs to be said about that one. Again, I am not a Red Mage, and I hate this card. I do not know how this isn't a hero. I really don't at all. Square Enix, why did you do this to me? It's an EX burst, which, ignore all that other text, draw a card. All right, sure. As you know, Fairy is good enough when it comes to that, and you know, Fairy, you get to recover something in the process too, which gets around ice. I get that, but anytime you get a free card advantage in this game, it's great. It can also, you know, it accelerates you on your next turn. But then let's look at the rest of this. Until the end of turn, it gets plus 1,000 power. We already know how important plus 1,000 power is, which, you know, if you play this game a little bit, it's like, oh, 1,000 power, how much can that matter? You play this game a little bit more, you're like, oh shit, 1,000 power matters a lot, even though it might not seem like a lot. Haste, so it's like, okay, so we get to play a guy. We're going to give him haste. And we're going to draw the card, and we're going to give it plus 1,000 power. All right, it's pretty good. You know, I think that the text can probably stop there, and it's fine. Yeah, you know, I don't think the card needs any more text. Oh shit! First strike. Oh yeah, this card is great. It's, I don't know how else to say it, folks. This card's insane. It's absolutely insane. The Fire Ice deck wants it. Even the Fire Earth controlled type of decks could use it. Fire Lightning this Fire Lightning is needed to summon since the last set. Oh, Fire Wind Unblockable can even use it. I don't know. Like, this card is just an auto staple. There is going to be so many situations where you're just able to play this card as you're using it for haste, and that's great. And then it has also plus 1,000 power and first strike. So this card is really going to be used in essentially 3 different situations. And it draws you a card. Why? Why does this replace itself? So again, I hope I've stressed enough at this point how absurdly strong this card is. And expect this to see play in every fire deck imaginable. You know, barring some outliers, of which are of course going to happen. Don't get me wrong, I realize that, but if I was a fire player going forward in the next set, and I probably will even try to brew Fire Ice with this, congratulations, you got the summon you wanted. Don't need to harp on that anymore. Imitation Liegeman, again, Mannequin, 3-drop 6k. When it enters the field, deal 2,000 damage or something. If you control another Mannequin, deal it 5,000 instead. So I do like this because it again has the potential to remove one of your opponent's threats, and it's a mannequin, so it can be buffed up to a 3-drop 7k with X Death. That said, it is a little bit on the lower side of what we'd want. So even in the mannequin deck, looking to some of the other ones, this might not make the cut. If you want to make just a purely tribal mannequin deck, absolutely go for it. I'm sure you can make this work for the 5,000 damage because, again, you can always attack first. They block, they just chump something, think that they're going to be okay, and then you can bring it into play, deal 5,000 damage. That's great. The Hero Furion was already seeing play as a 4-drop AK that deals 4. Again, obviously being an AK body is a huge benefit there, but I think in the same vein, the 5,000 damage can be relevant as well. It's just going to be in a very, very limited application. Now, I love Moogles. As you guys know by our logo, I really wish they would have made these a little bit more friendly. So we have Mount Blanc, and we do have a Moogle for every color, so yay, and I will probably collect a foil one just to have one foil of every Moogle. Pay 2 and dull it, choose one for it, deal 1,000 damage for each job Moogle you control. Just wait. We did have a card that's like you could play 20 copies of this in your deck. We had things like Good King Moogle Mog, especially a card that says just flat out deal damage based on each Moogle you control. I could absolutely see this card spiking in playability as we get more Moogles. Now, it might not be till Opus 4 or 5, but this is a card that if you want to play the long game and you want to get your foils for cheap, probably pick them up now because it's a 2-drop, which is great to play early. It's a Moogle, so it plays into its own theme. And eventually we are going to have a lot more Moogles to play with this. So unfortunately, off the bat, I don't really think any of the Moogles are playable. I'm going to give this one a pass for now, but as we go forward, I could see them absolutely becoming more and more playable. Lunith, 3-drop 7k. Okay, stats. Standard units gain haste. So I love this card because it already plays in the standard unit based deck. It allows us to play this fire water based standard unit deck. And now you're going to say that all my standard units specifically get first strike, haste, and plus 2,000 power. I think this card, even though it doesn't have an S, sometimes it can just be sitting on the board lonely by itself. I absolutely think that you want to be playing this card in your standard unit decks. And just because of how good haste can be when you're giving your guys plus 2,000 power, haste, and first strike, I could see running 3 of these strictly because of haste and how powerful it can be. So this one requires some more testing. It's definitely going to be a 2 of, probably a 3 of in those more heavily focused standard unit decks because even if we were to go with the Chocobo route, if we want to go fire wind, just giving all those guys haste when they already get super big and they can give the entire party first strike now, that seems perfectly fine. So look forward to the different decks they're using Lunith. Rubicante, and I know there's an Archfiend deck, and I haven't looked a great deal into all of them, I'll admit, and I know there's a Golbez that interacts with them, that he costs less for each one in your break zone, I believe it is, but you have to get them in the break zone first. That might take a little bit of work. So I'm not sure that they're going to be all that great. Now, this card aside, when he attacks, activate all forwards your opponent controls. Now, I can see where some of you might be thinking that's bad. And again, giving them the free activate can be pretty rough, but it is a 4-drop 9k, so potentially 4-drop 10k that you can attack with all the other guys first, get him to 6 points of damage, let's say, and of course, it'd just be able to make them die instead of having to lose a forward, but Rubicante can pressure your opponents where they do have to lose something in the process. And then Barrier Shift, name one element. He cannot be chosen by summons or abilities of the named element this turn. So he does have an ability to protect himself. Ultimately, I think this is going to be more focused on that Golbez deck I had mentioned. I don't see this necessarily being added, or as an auto add, to those other fire-based decks. But anytime that we have a undercosted 9k, it's worth looking into. And then for the lastly, we have Rosso. If Rosso receives damage, reduce the damage by half instead. And then numbers are rounded up to 1,000. So this is a very interesting one. Because if we see again, assuming we're running the fire backup, so it's a 3-drop 6K. If we're seeing other ways like a fire earth aggro deck, we are playing golem, so we can buff it that way too. There's a lot that this card can be doing. Out of the gate, I can't think of anything like off the top of my head that makes this card absolutely must play type material. But the artwork on the character is great, coming from Dirge of Cerebus, but it does leave a little bit to be desired, and it's going to take a little bit more deck building, finagling, if you will, to make that card really shine. So, as we had mentioned, we are now going to finally have the big reveal. What are the 4 cards that we had picked now that we've done a proper set review? Drum roll. Yeah, so these should be absolutely no surprise based on the rest of this video. Emperor gets the legend slot just because he's overall more versatile. Bosch is just going to be an insane card with Ash. That might be a little bit of biased on my end, I'll admit, but I think that anytime we have a card that enables a new archetype, sign me up. That is going to get my vote. Belias, and then lastly, Sage is a common, which is absurd for a common. And if I'm not mistaken, the foils for that card were already going for $5 on the UK sites. So on the cheaper sites where you'd find these, it's a $5 common. So absolutely wonderful and very powerful card. So that is all I have for this video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, we might be mistaken on a few of these. We didn't have the time to do any testing. We're still waiting on the Opus II cards, and hopefully they'll be here next week. We are so excited to be playing with the new set. We've been doing this for a while now at the time of this video. I think this is our 56th video for Final Fantasy over the past 6 months. It's been now the game has been released. And we are just dying for new cards, so we are very much looking forward to bringing you a set review pretty much every day for the next 5 days. Well, 6, we're going to do Light and Dark itself now for its own reasons. So tons of more content to come out. We're going to have an unboxing video as well, as I mentioned, the rest of these set reviews, and going to try to do some special videos between now and then as well. So again, let me know what you guys think. Don't forget, if you have a fire water list, drop in the comments below. We'll bring it up in the Facebook group, see what deck people want us to use. We'll feature it on the channel, and we'll have a blast with it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. We greatly appreciate all of your love and support, and we will catch you on the next 6 Sages Gaming video. Have a good one.